It's school picture day, and everyone is dressed up and ready to smile for the camera. Everyone that is, except Josephina, Caroleena, Wattasheena, the first. She's too busy trying to figure out how things work to care about pictures. After her tinkering gets everyone covered in grease, soot, and ashes, it looks as though the class picture day is going to be a disaster. Then a twist of fate allows Josephina to put her talents to good use. This irresistibly funny book will have you, the reader, grinning from ear to ear. So let's find out what happens on School Picture Day by Lynn Plourde, illustrated by Thor Wickstrom. It was School Picture Day. Everyone was dressed in their best. Bows and bow ties, sashes and suspenders, jewels and jackets. Everyone, that is, except Josephina, Caroleena, Wattasheena, the first. Josephina didn't know it was School Picture Day. She didn't even know it was Wednesday. She had more important things to think about on the bus ride to school. I wonder how this gear shift works. Squirm, shift, squeal, lift. After some highfalutin fidgeting, fiddling, fuddling, and flooping, Josephine finally figured out how the gear shift worked. Meanwhile, everyone wiped the grease off their bows and bow ties, sashes and suspenders, jewels and jackets as they walked the last 3.5 miles to school. "Hustle, bustle, hurry and scurry," said Mrs. Shepherd as she rushed everyone into her classroom. "You're late, and the photographer will be here any minute to take our class picture. Now please, everyone, fill out the school's picture form with your sharpest number 2 pencils and no fiddling," she added with a glance toward Josephine. Everyone started filling out the forms after sharpening their pencils at Mrs. Shepherd's super fast plush deluxe electric pencil sharpener. Everyone, that is, except Josephina, Caroleena, Wattasheena, the first. She had more important things to think about. Yiggle, wiggle, yank, jiggle, crank. I wonder how this pencil sharpener works. After some highfalutin fidgeting, fiddling, fuddling, and flooping, Josephine finally figured out how the pencil sharpener worked. Meanwhile, everyone brushed wood shavings off their bows and bow ties, sashes and suspenders, jewels and jackets, and bun. "Here's the photographer," Mrs. Shepherd announced. "Time to line up, you cutesy wootsies," the photographer scurried Mrs. Shepherd and all 23 children in the class into their places. "Stand on the chairs row, stand on the floor row, sit on the chairs row, and sit on the floor row." He put Josephina in the stand on the chairs row, then ordered, "Everyone say cheesy wheezy if you pleasey." Cheesy wheezy went 22 children and Mrs. Shepherd. But Josephina had more important things to think about. Josephina lifted up a ceiling tile and muttered, I wonder how this sprinkler system works. Push, shove, push, above. After some highfalutin, fidgeting, fiddling, fuddling, and flooping, Josephina finally figured out how the sprinkler system worked. Meanwhile, 22 children, Mrs. Shepherd, and a photographer wrung out their bows and bow ties, sashes and suspenders, jewels and jackets, bun and camera. Okie dokie, don't be a slow pokey. The photographer lined everyone up in their same exact places except Josephina. He put her in the sit on the floor row, then coaxed, Teethy weethies, let's see those teethies. 22 children and Mrs. Shepherd showed their teethies. But Josephina had more important things to think about. Pry, creak, rattle, peek. Josephina lifted up a floor bit and muttered, I wonder how this heating system works. After some highfalutin, fidgeting, fiddling, fuddling, and flooping, Josephina finally figured out how the heating system worked. Meanwhile, 22 children, Mrs. Shepherd, and the photographer stomped the soot off their bows and bow ties, sashes and suspenders, jewels and jackets, bun and camera. One more time, you sweetie pies. Just watch my little birdie. Photographer got out his special wind-up, flashing, squawking, talking bird and lined everyone up back in their same exact places, except Josephina. He put her in the sit on the chairs row. Then Birdie wants a cheesy. Measy wants a cheesy too. Cheesy, went 22 children and Mrs. Shepherd. But Josephina had more important things to think about. Josephina sat in her chair, muttering, I wonder what makes this special wind-up, flashing, squawking, talking bird work. Fluff, poof, crank, kerzoof. After some highfalutin, fidgeting, fiddling, fuddling, and flooping, Josephina finally figured out how the special wind-up, flashing, squawking, talking bird worked. Meanwhile, 22 children, Mrs. Shepherd, and the photographer plucked feathers off of their bows and bow ties, sashes and suspenders, jewels and jackets, bun and camera. Freeze! I said freeze! The photographer yelled so loud everyone could see all the way down to his toe bones. This time, Mrs. Shepherd and 23 children froze. no cheesies, no teethies, but they were all looking at the camera. The photographer hurried to push the button. Click. Ah! Screamed the photographer. My camera doesn't work. Then fix it, said 22 children. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how it works. All I do is push the button. You can't fix it, gasped Mrs. Shepherd. We won't have our school picture taken. 22 children sobbed. Nosy wosy, the photographer shook his head. Josephine held the camera, muttering, I wonder how this camera works. After some highfalutin fidgeting, fiddling, fuddling, and flooping, Josephina finally figured out how the camera worked. It works, said Josephina. Nice fiddling, Mrs. Shepherd smiled. Sweetie, munchkin, pumpkin pie, show me, begged the photographer. Okay, said Josephina. She lined everyone up, back in their same exact places, except the photographer. She put him in the lie on the floor row. Then she pushed the time delay button on the camera, ran to her place, and simply said, Smile! 23 children, Mrs. Shepherd, and the photographer all smiled. Several weeks later, the school pictures arrived. Mrs. Shepherd asked Josephina to hand them out. Josephina had more important things to think about, like her new spaceship science project. But she passed them out anyway. Everyone was pretty pleased, but all the parents did wonder, who was that big kid in Mrs. Shepherd's class? Cheesy Wheezy. The end. Hello, friends. Did you think that was a funny story? I hope you did. If you like this book, I hope you come take a look at my channel, Storytime with Lorelei. I have many other books, and new ones come out regularly. If you like my channel, please subscribe and click like, and then share this video with all of your friends. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.